Joining us now to offer his opinion on today's Twitter topic is BYU basketball analyst and former BYU basketballer Mark Durrant on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline. Mark, you thought you got away from us because you joined us not too long ago. We want some more, man. Are you cool with this?
Well, I think the people are demanding more Mark Durrant. But I tell you, you guys got a great job, man. You're sitting there talking about the all-time great duos. I'm sitting here working on a lease agreement. That doesn't seem fair to me.
Well, look at your paycheck, though.
The content is nice, isn't it?
Hey, Mark, let's get your opinion on our Twitter question today. Greatest dynamic duo in BYU sports history.
Boy, I knew you were going to ask me about this, so I put a little thought into it. And, you know, you guys are so young, you don't understand the great history and tradition of BYU. But
excuse me,
you go way back, in the way back machine. You got two names hung up on the Marriott Center rafters there, Minson and Hutchins. That's a pretty good dynamic duo. Then you got Nemelka and Congdon in the 60s. They were probably the best backcourt in the country at the time. Then you know, I'm a basketball guy, so you know, Smith and Chapman and Jimmer and Jackson, or even Jimmer and Brandon Davies. Davies played in the NBA. Ainge Roberts, two longtime NBA guys. So a lot of good dynamic duos on the basketball side. And then I remember, you know, my first real great memory was Jim McMahon and Clay Brown. That was at least that play was as dynamic as they get, and they were great all year long. And anyway, I'm just kind of going down the list. You know, obviously DeBeck to Harleen is iconic, and you know one guy I loved watching play was Glenn Kozlowski. I thought he was so good. He and Bosco. So anyway, I'm just throwing out some things there. I don't know. It's hard to not look past the most recent guys that are in your memory. And Jimmer was sure fun to watch, and Jackson was really a great compliment to what he did, and they had a lot of success. So that's kind of the one that sticks out, I guess, most in my mind.
One I want to go back to, we don't understand the history of BYU. Are you serious right now, Mark?
All right.
I know we're young, but come on.
I know you respect it, but Spencer, you know.
I'm the one that picked Steve Young and Gordon Hudson from 1983.
Listen, I was going to go with Mel Hutchins and Roland Minson, but it was like, that's from 51. Let's not do that. Some of our young, production assistants didn't want that. So. Are you going to pick one, by the way, instead of just listing a bunch?
You get me out of my work day. I take the time out of my day to come on, help you guys, lend a little credence to your show.
Yeah.
And then you berate me like this.
You're still just boxing me out. Grab the ball at some point, dog. Craig Drury would have you grab the ball.
You're going to nail me down. The dearest to my heart and kind of my childhood memory is McMahon Brown. I'm going to go McMahon Brown. That's outside the box a little bit, but that's what I'm going with.
Quarterback tight end combination. I like your thinking there, Mark Durrant.
And that began a run of amazing tight ends, which continued with Gordon Hudson.
Yeah.
And we
Chris
talked
Smith.
man, unbelievable run of tight
Chad
ends.
Lewis, yeah.
Tulamili, two of the best on the same team. Even Andrew George in the conversation with Dennis Pitta. We had this discussion too. If a team didn't have two distinct guys, but they had a star plus a bunch of guys, they were almost penalized in this conversation because you don't throw their name in there. Like Max Hall and fill in the blank. Is it Harvey Unga? Is it Dennis Pitta? Is it Austin Collie?
Ty Detmer and fill in the blank.
And fill in the blank, right? I think that certain groups of guys that were uber talented, just because they didn't have two distinct faces, are maybe penalized in the conversation. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I guess it's fun to have superstars, but boy, you got to have you talk about the great teams. It's usually more than just a couple guys, and I think I'd prefer the great team rather than a great one or two guys. But has anyone mentioned Durant Larson in this conversation?
Oh yeah,
at all?
okay,
yeah. A lot of people use the hashtag BYUSN. They mentioned that one.
Or even Rubel Durant, I would take at this point.
You got to throw those in there, right?
Yeah, I don't know why we laugh so hard on that one. I think that's a real a real asset to BYU athletics.
At least part of that, anyway.
Now let's fast forward back to the present time and what's happening within BYU basketball right now. The news that Jordan Chapman is going to transfer came out last week. BYU is now down to 4 scholarshiped guards. What level of concern do you have about the depth for BYU at the guard position?
I'm concerned. I really like Jordan's game. I think he struggled at times last year because he was injured to start, and working his way back in, got limited minutes, maybe put a little too much pressure on himself. He's clearly athletic and did some good things. But I know that he was frustrated. I know that Jeff was frustrated. And I wasn't completely surprised with the news. I was disappointed, as I am with any of these young men that leave. I love them. I get to know them, and I want the best for them. No one loves the Chapman family more than me. Talk about, him and Mike Smith. Boy, that was a great dynamic duo there, and he's an all-time great. So that I was sad to see that go. But specifically to your question, yeah, that's a real concern. I do think that you can. It's easier to pick up some depth on the guard line in a late stage of the game than it is trying to find big men help. And so I'm most comfortable because BYU's so well stocked at the big man positions, and they have great guards, at least to start the game. Obviously TJ and Nick and Bryant, those guys. But I think you can go out and find some grad transfers or JUCO guys at this stage and have at least the caliber and type of player you need to have to fill the backup roles. And obviously it's not a great situation, but you're in a pretty darn good situation if your starting guard line is Haas, Emery, and Elijah Bryant. And I'm more than confident that Coach Rose and his staff can go out and find a couple guys that will do a nice job filling that backup role and provide a little additional depth.
Mark Durrant with us on BYU Sports Nation, former BYU basketball player and college basketball analyst. Let's stay with the basketball theme here and looking at the guards. What are your expectations for the 3 that we anticipate will play a lot of minutes this upcoming season with Elijah Bryant, Nick Emery, and TJ Haas?
Let me start with Elijah. I love his size. I think he's going to be able to do a lot of the things that Kyle did. Obviously, Kyle's an all-timer, so he's not going to do them as well. But he's bigger. He can rebound, good passer. And what he can do that Kyle could not do is shoot the ball. No offense to Kyle. I love Kyle. But he struggled shooting the basketball. I mean, that's not a surprise to anybody that saw a game. So he's going to be able to stretch the defense a little bit that way and be more of a threat to score from the perimeter. So that's people are so high on him, and rightly so. He's deserving of that. I think he's going to be a huge benefit to the team and really be someone that they can look to provide a lot of things on that team. So obviously we know Nick Emery. I think he's going to be even more explosive, more dynamic, without having to worry about, am I stepping on Kyle or Chase's toes? Do I need to defer to those guys here? I don't want to do too much because I recognize that they're the seniors, and I need to kind of fill my role. And you saw him break out of that a little bit toward the end of the year and really could see what he could do. So sky's the limit for Nick Emery. We all know him. He's a proven commodity. He's going to be terrific. Now, TJ's another story. Everybody thinks he's going to be, one of the all-time greats. And that's a lot of pressure to put on a kid that hasn't played a minute of college basketball. He's obviously a superstar at Lone Peak, but he's been gone on his mission for a couple years. To expect him to come in and be an All-American, that's unfair. Now, maybe he will do it, but I'm always really skeptical. I'm optimistic about TJ, but until I see a guy play major college basketball, I'm not going to count on him too much. Now, I was the same way with Nick, and he fulfilled all those great expectations. I think TJ will do it, but the reality is he's never played a minute of college basketball. But this is one thing I do know. He's a Haas, and I know Marty, and I know Tyler, and the work ethic they have, and I've seen him play a lot at Lone Peak, and if I compare him to what Nick did there and Eric did there. Yeah, I fully expect he's going to be an amazing player. Maybe we'll be talking about Nick and TJ as one of the great all-time dynamic duos. But I just hesitate to put too much on a guy that's a freshman that's never played and has been gone on a mission for 2 years. But I'm excited, and I think that guard line is going to be terrific. They'll be very good this year, and the next couple of years, man, look out.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, that's for sure. And that's just coming up in a couple of months here as we sit here on June 14th. Yesterday, BYU and Utah competed in a charity golf tournament, and it seemed like it had that, Ron McBride, Lavelle Edwards kind of fun feel to it, to where it wasn't. I mean, Bronco Mendenhall's more of a serious cat and whatnot, so Kalani Sitake naturally is going to bring kind of a different angle to that, but it felt different. Do you think that BYU and Utah is going to feel any different since Kalani Sitake is the head coach now?
I do. I mean, everybody loves Kalani. Utes love him, and rightly so. He did a lot of good things up there. The Cougars love him, and he's just that type of guy. And I think Kyle Whittingham can be that type of guy when he's allowed to be. And so, I mean, that's what I want. I mean, you guys know I'm a rivalry guy, but I want it just to be fun. And people get carried away, and it's also serious. And I want to beat Utah like you wouldn't believe, but man, it's just fun. It's fun to have a rival. It's fun to kid each other. It's fun to, I was on the golf course the other day and playing in a tournament, and this guy was sitting at a hole, sponsoring it, and we had some conversation about we lost the ball on the last hole, and he said, "I'm surprised you haven't lost 5 in a row," and I mean, it's funny stuff, and I like teasing back and forth, and I like, Kalani and Kyle sitting at the same table, and Kalani singing the Utah fight song. As painful as that was to watch.
That was painful, man.
It was weird.
Oh.
It's fun, though. I mean, let's just have fun with the rivalry. Let's not get so serious about it. Let's tease each other and have fun, and makes it so much better.
Like you said, who do you want to beat more than your brother, right?
That's right.
And
that's right.
Down with Devin.
That's kind of the atmosphere that we're going for.
I don't know what that's like because I never beat Devin.
Mark, we appreciate the time as always, my friend. Great stuff, and I'll tell Jerem not to berate you anymore, okay?
Oh, my goodness.
I appreciate that. Thanks for sticking up for me. Hey, I love you guys. Anytime you want me on, just let me know.
Mark,
love
you're
it.
My,
Thanks,
you're
Mark.
my homeboy.